Hello, Michael Hoffman. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. Alrighty. So here we are on a lovely Thursday evening right before a snowpocalypse.
Yeah.
It's romantic. It's romantic. I feel like I'm looking at paper, so I gotta get all of the keyboard crap off my desk so I can see what I'm looking at. For some odd reason, I decided that I needed to print these, or I needed to look at printed versions of these. It was just something where I was like, I just can't do it digital.
It's good. No, well, I mean, Michelle and the mayor and I all looked at the paper submissions too. It's helpful to have a thing in your hand for sure.
Also, it just made me feel a lot more official. I was like, I'm here. We're doing. Hi, Michelle.
Hi. How are you guys?
Good. Good.
I'm pretty wet in the rain. I'm like soaking wet, so been out in the rain. But... Hi, Peter. How are you?
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Peter.
Peter and Art, have you guys met before?
I don't know that we've met in real life, but Peter and I have chatted on the phone.
Yes.
Cool.
Peter explained me good on the RFQ process and a myriad of other things. It was very informative, and I'm very appreciative.
Good. Thank you.
Hey, Tom.
Michelle. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
And Arthur. Did you drop something on your shirt there, Arthur?
Yeah, regret. Regret. This shirt is full of regret. No, this is my I want to appear fun and jovial meeting sweater. It's got smileys on the arms. Just FYI, if you guys needed to know.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Don't hate the player,
Right.
Tom. Hate the game.
Huh? When,
I'm just not even going to repeat it because I have no idea who's listening on YouTube.
yeah, good point.
Oh.
I hope it was insulting to me, but
No, never. I would never publicly insult you. I save that for
private, yeah.
I save that for executive session.
Who are we waiting for? I forget who's on this.
The mayor.
Oh,
I just texted him.
he should be
He's-
here. I know he was busy listening to my radio show, but because I got texts from him during it.
While we
But go ahead.
while we are waiting for Mr. Mayor, what are we expecting to get out of this meeting? Were we narrowing this particular crew down to 3?
Yeah. I could run through that, but I guess we can start now. Basically, so we background for anyone who is watching this on YouTube. Welcome to the selection committee for the RFQ for affordable housing developers. So basically, we put out this RFQ, which is pretty broad. It's not an RFP, so we're just looking and finding developers, trying to gauge their interest in developing affordable housing based off of our affordable housing development plan, and just finding people who are good fits. So we basically our goal is to narrow down the list to about 3 that we want to interview and talk to more. If we find we really want 4, we could do that, but ideally it would be 3.
And just for the public's awareness, part of the interview process they will be able to have public comment?
Not during the interview. Those we would conduct in private, but if we move forward with anybody,
As we move forward, because it's
As we
also
move forward.
have to go to the council at some point where, you know, there's more comment.
Okay.
And by the way, before we go further, I want to thank Michelle, Michael, and of course, the wonderful Commissioner Peter Bujano. The three of them put together this RFQ, which elicited 11 responses, which is a testament to how well it was done.
Thank you, Tom.
thank you.
Wonderful.
Hi, Mayor.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
So to recap real quick, this is your selection committee. So again, if anyone's watching, I'll just introduce everyone real quick, give a brief overview of what we're doing tonight, and then we'll get into it. I'm Michelle Tulo. I'm the Housing Justice Director. We have Council President Tom DiPietro on. We have Mayor Kamal Johnson on. We have Mayoral Aide Michael Hoffman. We have DPW Commissioner Peter Bujano, and then we've got Alderman Art Frick from the First Ward. And so we looked at these 11 RFQs. We were very excited to receive so many from great developers. So thank you. Really excited to see much interest, and thank you to y'all for doing all this reading. I know it was quite a lot to read through. And so basically we went through all 11 and we looked at developers who we wanted to see what their interest was in Hudson, wanted to see things like what approaches they've used to have affordable housing in the past. Do they have, what type of experience they have with different financing, do they work with what type of income levels, any home ownership opportunities. We wanted to see some of their design examples. Would they be good fits in Hudson? We wanted to see their strength with putting together different financial sources and their expertise with community engagement and stuff like that. And so out of that list of 11, we have 5 that were pretty popular across the group that we're going to discuss tonight. The goal is to narrow that 5 down to 3. We have 3 others that a couple people like. So if anyone feels strongly about those 3, we can also talk about them at the end. But I think the 5 we have should be good. And again, these are like a very broad stage. We don't have specific sites selected. We don't have any development type of relationship. Anything that we would do that gets to that more concrete stage would be part of a much longer process involving the public and the council. So again, this is just trying to find developers that we are interested in having some kind of possible relationship with. So that said, let's talk about our 5 developers that were pretty popular. So the first one I want to start with was RFQ. They were chosen by everybody as being a favorite. So I just wanted to kind of discuss them, things that stood out to you, and if we're interested in interviewing them.
I can go first. I did have some, I used the note sheet that I found very, very helpful, Michelle. So thank you for sending that along. Let me just get their proposal. Sorry, I have everything in a way. I have everything in a way in a state. So the things that I did like about RFQ were that they seem to have a pretty diverse blend of sources for financing. They seem to use different mechanisms across their portfolio of projects. I also liked that they had a lot of experience in developing like LEED certified buildings in like net zero communities, things like that. I thought that would be a really interesting and captivating kind of thing specifically for Hudson, since we have a large, group of constituents that are super into environmental concerns. I also really liked that they had some property management functions. I liked that I also picked them because I think they were one of the smaller developers that were in the RFQ. So I think that as opposed to a massive conglomerate of multiple organizations and doing just billions and billions and billions of dollars of affordable housing development, they were one of the smaller ones. They're fairly local, Ulster County. And I don't know, I felt like in reading their proposal, they seemed to get where we were and where we are as a company, where we want to go. I think their design seemed thoughtful in terms of the surrounding. And yeah, I would absolutely hear more from them.
I agree with Art, and there's more to even say about them. They are, of course, very regional. They've been successful regionally. They've also worked on routes to ownership. And they've done, even though their major projects have been, excuse me, reuse projects, they have done a ground up project in Woodstock, because the projects we're looking at are largely probably ground up. And most importantly, they're not for profit. So, there's a whole different motive behind the work they do. So yes, I agree with Art. They are a oh, by the way, they've been here. They've spoken here. They've talked to us before, at the Hudson Forward Group. Is that what it's called? Forward Hudson. So
what did they, have they done work with us previously?
No.
Like
I just meant they've been here speaking to us here. And
okay,
more importantly,
their name was familiar to me, and I couldn't remember where from. Okay,
yeah.
Well, thank you. Sorry to interrupt, Tom.
And they also, I don't know if it was in this presentation or not, but they would, in terms of what Art was saying about management, they would be happy to establish a regional office here in Hudson, were they, involved with development here.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. And I think we heard from both in our public engagement throughout all our different plans, and also with the council last fall, that there's an interest in home ownership, and they're one of the few people who have any experience in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I also really like that all the different projects were very different. So it's not like they have this one way of doing it all the time, but they kind of go in and see the need and the interest, then design from there and match the sources and the funding. So I like that a lot.
I agree with everything that's been said. In addition to that, they have relationships with the appropriate New York State agencies, from Homes and Community Renewal, NYSERDA, Temporary Disabilities Assistance, et cetera. So there's a good fit there. They have they know the players, they know where to go to make projects happen. It appears from their documentation.
Cool. Anything to add or disagree or change from Michael or the mayor?
No, I mean, I agree with all that was said here. I think they have a very strong team, and they followed the proposal to a T. And they actually seem one of the development agencies that doesn't seem too big for Hudson. They've done a wide scope of work, large and small.
Yeah.
Some of the ones we've rejected out of hand are the ones that are so national and so big, we just wouldn't, we'd just be a blip to them.
Yeah.
Just for this particular project.
Yeah, right.
Now, I believe it is worth mentioning, however, that of the sites that we had mentioned in our proposal, RUPCO was really only interested in 2, the North Fourth and State and the 604 Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So just something that if we're looking to develop this portfolio, right, we're going to need.
I thought they were interested in Rossman Ave and Columbia Street as well.
I could be wrong there. I wrote it down. And
yeah, I think there was 4 of them they were interested in.
Well, that's why I think it's natural to move to impact as our next consideration, because it's possible that if we had some kind of plan that involved both, because impact is a completely different model, as we know from what's been here. It's a master plan model. It's a unique model, and they would be overlooking a lot of stuff. And let's say we brought them in as kind of the master planners. A group like RUPCO could function with them. In other words, I don't think we have to just limit ourselves to picking one group that just does, as Art pointed out, a very narrow bunch or a very specific bunch of properties. With impact, we get an oversight to a lot of properties, all the properties, with a lot of extras. They'd help us a lot more with pre-development. which, as you know, is a big part of these kinds of things, working on code, working on, they've had a lot of experience in developing form-based codes, which is something that I've always, been a supporter of since getting involved in these issues. And another thing, they don't limit themselves just to affordable housing. They will think of other things that, combinations of which to finance the affordable part, to maybe even bring in some money that could help underwrite the affordable aspect of it. So that's my introduction to impact for anybody who wants to pick up from there.
Impact. Hold on. I
Yes.
gotta go to. I gotta look at the documents, or I never remember what the hell we're looking at. Okay.
Actually,
That's
let me
the-
take that. It's actually under Penrose. Sorry,
These guys got it.
it's a group. It's Penrose, Impact,
Yeah,
and
Impact Collective and Penrose.
yeah,
Now-
with Genesis.
with Regenesis also, right?
No, these guys were one of the larger operations.
Correct. Well, parts of them are.
Right, but I mean, the idea is they want to come in my mind, they would look at all of the available properties and then be like, hey, you know what? Here's a holistic solution. Here's what we can do. We can take your list of 5. We can make 12% of these market rate. We can make whatever to subsidize and all that kind of jazz. So I think that was one of the things that I quite liked Penrose. Of the big ones, I believe they were my top my top list. Hold on, let me go back to my scoring rubric. I thought that they had also a lot of mention in their proposal of incorporating various types of social service and support things that I thought was a captivating kind of proposition. So it seemed in the scope of their proposal that they had partnered a lot with other, nonprofit kind of social service agencies that I think could have a very good place specifically in our city. I felt that they had a lot of experience. And even though they were a much larger group, I thought that they seemed to have approached each site with an understanding of where they were operating. So I think that they demonstrated in what they portrayed to us anyway, that they would understand that, this isn't New Rochelle and you can't put a 3,500 unit skyrise in, and have it be okay. Like they seem to understand that, we need to function within the parameters of a small city.
Yep.
My initial reaction to Impact was, as Art said, and both Tom alluded to, that they were a large firm. And I thought they were much too large for the City of Hudson's project, this current project. However, just listening to what Tom was saying, I think the resources are there to provide that other element that's necessary to make this project a success. And there's nothing in this process to preclude us from having them be the oversight and then partnering with some of the smaller firms on a number of projects. So the partnership relationship is something to consider. We can talk to Impact, maybe partnering with any of the others that we select so that we have one or more developers, or we can have Impact and a developer like Rupco, et cetera. But I think they provide the resources, the basis of resources. What I didn't want to see them do was to put a lot of emphasis on all those other elements that we're not looking for. We're looking for the development of. But thinking back to what Tom said, I think it makes sense to have them maybe as the lead on the project with a partnership with one of the smaller ones, and we'll get the best of both worlds.
Yep.
Yeah, I just think that we should focus on the presentation first before we go announcing like leads and things like that. I want to hear directly from whoever, the handful that we choose, the 3 that we choose.
Sure.
Right, and we don't even know if they're interested in that concept either, so.
Right.
Well, and that was sort of another thing, is that some of these Penrose seemed so large that I feel like developing in a place like Hudson would be very much a strategic play for them, in terms of like, I don't know if they're trying to like expand to Albany. I don't know if they're trying to drum up more business in just the metropolitan, New York City area. Like it felt very much like, oh, I'm a massive business and I know that this is a thing that we should do because it goes into other businesses. Sorry, I've been watching way too much Succession, so everything is like a massive business. It's sorry, it's my own bias that I'm going into. But I thought that they.
Is that a TV show?
Yes, it's really good.
Just kidding.
It's so good. It's so good, Tom. Dot would be all over it. Anyway, I don't know. I want to hear more from them. They seemed like they had just a bucket of experience and a boatload of resources, and they have done and solved our problem many times. And even though they may be much larger development, crew, some of the cities that they've worked with were also on the smaller scale. So like Nashua is a bit of a smaller place, Nashua, New Hampshire. I'm just glancing through their consolidated references, but
And also
I
some
don't
of the developments themselves were smaller. So even, for example, they have one in like the Deanwood neighborhood of DC. DC is obviously big, but the actual like building they did wasn't that big.
I think it's also worth mentioning that Impact and Regenesis have been around town a couple of times and spoken to some of us. So we have a little bit of familiarity with what they're about. But that doesn't mean they don't have to present themselves to the rest of Hudson so that they know what they're about. I mean, some of us have been impressed with what they have to say, but more people have to hear from them.
Yeah, Bill Reed, I remember, did a presentation, I think that was sponsored by the tourism board, possibly about ecotourism.
Right, that was one of them.
I thought was really impressive and definitely applicable to kind of what the direction that I think Hudson is going in terms of being more environmentally conscious about development and about the economy here. I also just want to note, Art, that while Penrose may be a larger company, Impact is definitely a small business, and they would probably be our main contacts, I think, really in the actual work.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from, sorry, Art.
No, I just say, look, I thought they painted a compelling argument, and I want to hear more.
Cool. Yeah, I think definitely they mentioned a lot of both approaches in finance, such as like social impact bonds and opportunity zone investments that we haven't heard from other people. And I think also Hudson has so many other projects going on right now. And if there is someone who would help us think about them in a unified way and really considering environmental impacts of all this, that'd be great. So hearing from all this, that we'll put this one on the list. I think we'll talk about all 5 and then we can kind of circle back. But so far, seem interested in hearing from REPCO, seem interested in hearing from Impact and having a conversation. So next one I'm going to bring up is home leasing.
Home leasing.
Yeah. So they're it's a picture of a house on the, or a picture of Hudson on the cover.
That doesn't quite narrow it down, Michelle.
It's like a little blue binder. So they're based in Rochester. They've teamed up with SWBR Architects.
That's Hudson?
No, sorry. I said buildings. And then,
it could be Hudson if we hire them.
I like that in their favor, they were kind of vertical in the sense that they did everything. And, that's a hard choice. Is it better to be vertical and have everything in one place, or does it make more sense to, have the construction, development, and management be separate? I don't know. maybe Peter has a better view on that with more experience, but it is one of their things. They do rely on pilots a lot, I should point out.
Yeah.
If
I
you
saw
read their
that.
financials, it seems like every project they ask for a pilot.
Yeah.
Not that that should limit us, because we do know that to produce affordable housing, it often requires a pilot. And they did some really unique things with, they have done some great stuff with for the elderly and other specific groups.
I also like them. I thought they did a balanced proposal, and I also like the fact that they're not the extreme urban type developer. They're from Western New York, and their projects look good in this document. I just liked it, the proposal, the way it read and the way it was put together.
These guys, to me, were fairly middle of the pack. I picked up that they didn't seem to have like a super broad or creative use of funding. I thought it sort of I also put that they had some diversity, but they relied a lot on pilots, which was kind of like, we can be a little creative, something, other than being like, hey, everybody gets to pay for you. I don't know. I wanted a little bit more diversity in the funding stream. I don't know. I was like, meh. That's my.
You said meh?
Meh.
MEH.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that's what you said.
Let the record show.
For the record. For the record, meh. Yeah.
Anything from Michael or the mayor?
I was struck by kind of the very specific development that they did in Rochester around homeless individuals and HIV/AIDS and frail elders. Something about that project like kind of hit home for me. Is just like the attention and the desire to kind of create something that is so geared towards having a real social service to the community. But that said, I do think that I was this one was also like probably the last of the five. If I was going to rank the five that I provided as like my tops, this was they were probably not at the top of the list, but of a very very impressive work on the whole.
Yeah, I thought they were impressive as well, but geared toward this particular project and what we want to accomplish. I had them at the bottom of my five.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you guys said. I really liked the how they set aside units for folks for reentry and formerly unhoused residents, and really impressive portfolio. I liked they had an example in Schenectady where they had won an RFP for like a city-owned school, it looks like, but then they assembled more properties nearby to make it like more financially feasible. But I also kind of agree that I didn't see any examples that were great fits for the sites we have. That would be more new construction in a more urban setting. So I think we'll put them on like the side for now, and we'll come back after we finish the discussion.
I also wanted to call out that they were in fact a B Corp, which is every bit as for profit as anything else. So the B Corp that's cool. You care about your employees.
Yeah, I saw it. And there's a lot of nice Serta bonds, so a lot of green stuff. Okay, cool. So we'll come back to them. Next one we're going to discuss is Kearney. So they teamed up with Hudson River Housing. They have a lot of experience in Beacon and Newburgh and Poughkeepsie, and they're primarily interested, they said, in doing a mixed income model with art and literary housing at State and North 4th, Washington, Mill Street.
Kearney has been here before. They were one of the respondents to the I can't remember what year it was now, 2016 or 17 CAS RFP. And so we got to meet them then. They're very regional, as you know, Beacon, Peekskill. And as this proposal makes clear, they've really studied Hudson. It was a very Hudson, unlike the one we're not even going to consider, which just sent a formulaic generic response.
Yeah.
These guys very much are aware of us. And one thing they like to emphasize is their, they call it arts related, but it's really kind of a workforce model of development. You know?
I got slightly a different take on that, Tom. I thought that they really did a great job of reading like the Wikipedia page about Hudson and then incorporating the Wikipedia page and you know, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, a haven for artists. And, you know, it's like, okay, bud, I get that. But we have people who actually need keys to an apartment.
Right.
Like we have a substantial and documented need of people that need like proactive, like affordable housing today. And
But
I 100% agree. Yes, we also need workforce housing. Like
that's a category
I
of
think
affordability,
yes.
you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about, you know, I mean, whether we favor, I mean, the various studies have identified that category. I know here they talk about artistic and literary, but really there's a category of people who are making, you know, say $40,000 to $50,000 regionally who can't afford to rent here now. And that should be, you know, that they call it artistic and literary is probably not a good thing, but it still falls into that realm, that AMI realm is what I'm saying. And you're right, though, that they did study it. I mean, it did seem Wikipedia, but it is sort of what they said last time for the CAS project. Not a hell of a lot different.
I think I generally like what they've provided, but what I'm concerned about is that they seem almost like single-minded in terms of the approach to developing all of their projects. It does seem like it is kind of the same project each time, and I'm just concerned about the what we're looking to do is really not necessarily to do the same thing in each site that we have, but to rather evaluate what would work best in each location. So I'm just a little concerned about partnering with them on a larger scale. I mean, it could work to work with them on perhaps one site, but that was just kind of one thing that was flagged for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I had them in my top 3. You know, I would like to hear more if that's ends up being the consensus of the group.
I agree as well. I like Kearney. I like their partners there. I thought they have a nice team. The only thing they did was select 3 parcels. Just be aware of that. They focused on 3. So, but I did like them.
And they were the 3 parcels that I feel like have really been, they're kind of like the hot parcels that we have, it seems.
They're a little more development feasible than Columbia State's a tinier parcel to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with what a lot of you guys were saying. I do, you know, it's great that they're local. I do agree with Michael that I'm just a little perhaps confused about where the desire and the intent on this artist loft design's coming from, rather than kind of wondering what we want here.
Right.
And I am kind of familiar with their designs. I've spent a lot of time at Poughkeepsie and Beacon, and they do all seem the same to me. And so I would want to know more about how they make it fit for here. And I also want to know more about what the role of Hudson River Housing would be. I thought that they didn't really make that clear. And, you know, they're a really interesting, like super wonderful group in Poughkeepsie. So I'd be curious what they saw their role being in this.
Yeah, most of that work they've done has been, they don't seem to have done a lot of ground up work either.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a big difference, I think, renovating an old building for a purpose and building from the ground up where, there's so many other considerations to
Yeah.
consider,
I mean, I know like they have like Beacon, not on Main Street, but behind Main Street, they have like a old kind of townhouse, the example, but that wouldn't fit on these sites.
And I gotta say, the ones they presented for CAS were not very inviting. But then again, that was an early stage.
Yeah.
You never know where it's gonna end up.
Yeah.
One thing you learn in these things is like a lot of people begin with a very generic design, and you have no idea, what eventually is gonna emerge,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
And I just want to remind everybody, again, this was a request for qualification. So as you
Mhm.
know from past experience, when you start talking to these people, what they present on paper versus in person, sometimes there's a difference. And then you can feel the dynamic if there's a fit. So that's why I always like to do the interviews. And so
Yes.
I think, let's just think of it that way and get to the next point. If we like all of them, we can bring them all in as well. But
I agree
look
with Peter.
forward to, yeah,
I liked them when they came in for the CAS. They were very.
yeah.
I liked them actually, even though I wasn't, in favor of what they were proposing. They presented well.
And sometimes they misinterpret because we send them writing, they send us writing back. And sometimes you have that dialogue in person. They'll explain something or then they'll trigger something else and they'll give you an answer. And, you come together at a different place sometimes. A more positive place, more clearer place.
Yeah, and I do just want to echo what Michelle said, that I would want to know more about what Hudson River Housing's role is in all of this, because they actually are really only mentioned on the description page, and it's unclear how they would contribute to the project here in Hudson specifically. It wasn't clear to me if they had worked with HRH on any of the items, on any of the projects that were listed in their proposal.
Cool. So then the last of the 5 we had to discuss was Xenolith. They were the white binder. They were interested in 604 Washington Street.
Yeah, that spoke negatively to me because, that's just a small part of it. And we're not even sure of the status of the property, if it's developable. It does have, the very nice fact that it's completely women run and owned. But a lot of their projects are big scale projects, but that doesn't speak either way, really. I mean, doesn't mean they couldn't develop something more moderately sized here.
My read on that company was that they were more of a partner rather than a lead on a project. So I'm looking for somebody with some strong development skill sets here and some strong project experience. I think they would be a good partner, as the other firms have used them as a partner. That's just what I sense from the proposal, that they don't have a lot of front end, top lead, taking the lead on projects experience.
Yeah, that's the thing when you go through these, you see some of them sort of claim responsibility for things they really weren't the lead on,
Yeah, they list the project with the big dollars and the big story,
Yeah, right.
and what their role is not really that. So that's what I gleaned from that.
I changed all the light bulbs on this project. It's like, yeah, I think I could be swayed either way. I think that, they expressed interest in one site. I thought that they did seem like they had, some creative approach stuff with like the YMCA. They did something with the YMCA. They did just a little bit of, they had some diversity and some thought that I thought was good. But again, also they are an LLC, so there's that too.
But their role on that project was probably not the lead. I don't recall that project specifically, Art.
I'd have to dig it up, Peter.
Yeah, I can do the same. I think home leasing is ahead of them in my listing.
So do we want to talk to all 5 or just 4 of them?
I'm open to anybody's thought.
Did Michael or the mayors want to talk about Xenolith at all? If you don't, that's cool.
No, I shared the same thoughts of, I'll just be repeating what everybody else said.
Yeah. I really like their attention to detail, like just clearly a lot of thoughtfulness went into it. And I like that all their designs, even though none of them I could see them being in Hudson, they're all very clearly unique and fit in the environment they're in, which makes me think that they could think of something unique for Hudson. But I think Peter makes a really strong point about them not necessarily being the development lead. And also, they are interested in just in that one site, which we would want to see if the developer wants more.
Which means if we had a master developer, they could easily end up being maybe selected just for 604, I mean.
Yeah. Michael, anything?
I just thought that their team was very strong. I really liked that they had a geologist. Like, that's so cool to me.
Yeah.
to have someone with that experience, particularly given what the kinds of soil issues that we have here in Hudson. It's like it would be kind of great to have someone like that kind of being a part of the team
At all 3 sites.
Right. So, and I agree with you, Michelle, that I think that the approaches that they've taken for each of the projects that they displayed were really unique and really taking into consideration the environment that they were in. So I really enjoyed their proposal. And also, like you said, when their proposal arrived, they were the only ones that actually put the little tabs in as we asked for in the RFQ.
Gave the little USB that was
and gave the USB. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, attention to detail matters. And I do think that it counts for something.
So
sorry.
I was gonna say, let's interview all 5.
That's fine with me if it's cool to other people, because there's a time commitment from everybody.
True.
So,
I only have 3, but
okay.
I'm also okay with if everybody else wants to interview all 5. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to hear more. I mean, we want to get the best results, but.
Peter, you think that's too much?
I think it's doable. I think we can schedule it out. We kind of.
Yeah, I asked you because I know you're going to be doing the scheduling.
Okay. Yeah, I can do it. We can do it.
Okay.
I can work with schedulers too, but I know that some of y'all have day jobs and other obligations and stuff.
Definitely
I'm sorry.
have a day job. Yeah.
Sometimes we've done these, like we've dedicated a Saturday and we just did them from Saturday morning up, get them all done. And we have a little discussion afterwards and we think about it for a couple of days and then come back together. But that's an idea. Saturdays usually work, but it's up to you.
Okay. So how does everyone feel about interviewing all 5?
I don't know that I personally feel the need to hear from, I believe it was Home Leasing or Xenolith. I think in the other 3, they on first pass are much more appearingly to me qualified. Now I can be totally shot down because this is just my feeling. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to cry about it. If we want to interview all 5, I don't think that interviewing all 5 would hurt, but I think that I feel like for somebody that's only interested in one site like Xenolith, right? Maybe that's something where if we were to engage with a company that was interested in multiple sites and wanted to outsource one parcel, we could be like, hey, here's Xenolith. Check these guys out. What do you think?
I agree with that.
I agree with that as well.
I'm also was less interested in home leasing, because B Corp, they're in this to make money. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in this to give people housing that need it. Like, let's like.
Most developers are making money.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Everybody's getting paid.
Yes.
Like money.
We're not going to change the capitalist system with this one RFQ.
We're not. We're
Speaking of
not.
which, Art,
Can't pay the bills with love.
yeah. Speaking of which, Art, do we have to have an advertisement for your company on your video?
We do not.
Okay.
We do not.
You want to turn that pillar around?
So
I
think
what
we
you're
can-
getting for Christmas, Tom.
Oh, ooh.
we've definitely agreed on impact and Repco. Home leasing, I would be interested in hearing from. I think Peter said they were his third favorite.
I would be interested in hearing from home leasing.
Okay. And then do you guys want to
Kearney.
hear from Kearney?
Yes.
I would
Let's-
say yes.
Yeah, let's just drop Zeno.
Jobs on.
So let's go with all 5 of them, right? That's where we got
I
that.
think those are the 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zenolith only had the one parcel that they were interested in, and then you're
Yeah.
limited on their lead project
Yep.
experience. So, that's my
Yeah.
point.
I'm fine not hearing from them too.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Maybe other opportunities in the future that were more suitable.
Mhm.
Absolutely right.
Cool.
Okay.
Did anybody feel passionately about one of the ones that we rejected?
No,
Yeah. So the other
actually
thing,
against them.
Well, not for this particular project. Like I think, some of them do remarkable work, but
Yeah.
for what we're trying
Yeah.
to do here, I think in future, development.
yeah.
I agree with that as well.
Yeah. But it's also getting late, so I don't want to go backwards. Like, well past dinner time. I think we got our 4.
Well,
Is there a football game tonight, Mayor?
No.
okay. So we got our 4 and it is 7. So I'll follow up with you guys with Tom notifying the next crew about what's happening next, and scheduling and stuff. So thank you everybody for your Thursday
Awesome.
evening.
Thank you.
Great
Michelle.
job, Michelle.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.
So